All right, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. It's Wednesday, January 3rd at 9 a.m. We'll start our meeting. Andy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public comment? Public, you got anything to say today? All right. Any questions on the consent agenda? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Christina and Andy.
Good morning, Commissioners. This request is an update to our natural hazard mitigation plan. This project involves the review and 5-year update of the Crook County multi-jurisdictional natural hazards mitigation plan, which Andy can go into a little bit more detail on. But basically, we work with COIC to assemble a committee to review the plan, update our risk and vulnerability analysis, environmental factors, and draft new or revised mitigation strategies, and then adopt that plan. This plan involves most of the county's departments, as well as the city and the fire district. The requested funding for this plan update is $71,000 via the county's risk management fund, which is included in the current budget appropriation for that fund. Because this request affects all of the county departments, it was felt that it was appropriate to use that risk management funds, and it is a risk project.
Mm-hmm.
Just for a little background, that risk management fund, its purpose is for mitigating a variety of countywide risks, such as our liability insurance deductibles, workers' compensation, and each department does pay into that fund. So we felt it was a good use of those funds. So I'll turn it over to Andy to give you a little bit of details on that, what that plan entails.
The plan needs to be updated every 5 years. We are past due. Without having the plan in place, it does limit us as far as grant mitigation, rehabilitation, things of that nature. The plan also gives us a chance to look at the problems and see down the road areas we may have issues in that we need to work on. And it gives us a framework to start those planning and building our infrastructure to prevent and mitigate some hazards we might want, like wildfires, floods, things of that nature.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Yeah, everything we can do to be prepared. We're really glad to have you on board. Everything I've seen out of you so far has been great. So thank you.
Give yourself time.
Yeah. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
So
I think
So-
you gotta
do
wait
Yeah.
for either Eric to come up with something
Oh,
or yeah.
I was ready.
No, I like it. You said it with
Yeah.
authority. You almost
You did.
you almost pushed it through.
Yeah. That's gonna do it.
What I might suggest is a motion to approve the allocation of $71,000 from the county's risk management fund to engage COIC to draft an update to the county's multi-jurisdictional natural hazards mitigation plan.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Christina again.
All right.
It's the Christina and Andy show today.
Andy show this morning.
Yeah, it's a great show.
So this request is for the replacement of the sponson on one of the marine patrol boats. These boats are owned by the state,
they are
owned by the county.
owned by the county to a pass through from the state.
Okay, so the state Marine Board provides dollars to maintain the marine program, including these boats, but the county does have to pay upfront, and then the state Marine Board will reimburse us for the repair on the sponson of this boat.
What is a sponson?
It's the rubber thing that goes around
It's an
the
inflatable
outside of
rubber
it.
bumper around the edge, of the boat, so as they pull up onto somebody else's boat, stop them, they don't ding into their boats.
As I Googled it, it says a gun platform standing outside of a warship side. And I was kind of hoping that's what it was.
Not that one. Not that one.
So the state has chosen the vendor for this repair under their contract, I believe. So this is just to expend the $20,260 to replace that sponson, which will be fully reimbursed by the Marine Board.
Sounds good to me.
Questions? It took me a while to know what sponsoring was also.
So I'll make a motion to expend $20,260 to replace the rubber bumper around the marine boat to be fully reimbursed by Oregon Marine Board.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Next.
Christina?
So the next one is a Title III request. So Title III dollars are federal funds that are given to the counties and allocated based upon our federal forest receipts under the Secure Rural Schools Act. So these dollars are not from county tax dollars. The dollars do have some really heavy restrictions on them. One of those available uses for the dollars is for emergency response equipment to be used on public lands. So these 2 thermal imaging drones and the accessories for search and rescue purposes fit under the eligible use of the Title III funds. So we're requesting approval of up to $40,000 of those Title III funds to purchase 2 DJI Matrix M30T drones with thermal imaging and the accessories, including 2 drone command boxes that have a screen and go in the back of a vehicle. These drones are specifically designed for search and rescue and will significantly improve the ability for our search and rescue to respond in emergency situations like locating missing persons, assessing disaster areas, and conducting efficient search operations, especially in the challenging terrain that Crook County presents. And if this is approved, it would start the 45-day public comment period for Title III that gets published in.
Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it sounds great. I know, I got quite a few people I know on search and rescue, and it would be really nice when it's cold and snowy to be able to fly something around and.
It would really help us, like, really think on our last, I guess, 3 missions ago, in the middle of the night. I mean, we did succeed, but it would have been nice to put something like that up. It's got that kind of resolution to try to find these people in the darkness, because we're almost always out there in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
So I have a question. I don't know, Andy, if you can answer it or not, but it wasn't too long ago that we purchased 2 drones. Are these drones going to be the same as the ones that we previously purchased? And are they going to be used?
Bigger, they have a longer flight time. They are much more capable of flying in bad weather, which is really nice. Flying snow, they can fly in rain and heavier winds. So it'll stay up longer and allow us to get better footage. The cameras are better also.
Great, thank you.
I don't think the other one had thermal imaging. I can't remember exactly. But.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Do we need them, since you're advertising it, do we need a motion to advertise it, or how do we work this?
Yeah, so Eric can give you the particulars
Okay.
of the motion.
Well, I'm waiting for you again. Okay.
Yeah, so Title III is a very odd program. As Christina said, before we spend any Title III funds this way, we have to advertise that we plan on spending Title III funds this way and give the public a certain amount of time to issue any sort of comments for or against. I don't remember the last time we've ever received any comments for Title III expenditures. So for the first portion of this, I might recommend a motion to authorize the spending of $40,000 of Title III funds for the purchase of search and rescue, aerial drones, and related equipment as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Well.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm back to discuss broadband again. I think it should be pretty brief this morning. As you might recall, the Oregon Broadband Office was going to release some additional information after our meeting last week. COIC was able to review that material and put together a draft letter of support, but I did not have time to review that yesterday in time to get it in with the packet for today's meeting. So I'm going to bring a letter of support back to you guys at a later date. But today, my ask is that we get a motion from the court allowing COIC to proceed on our behalf as part of that regional grant application. I think it can be a relatively simple motion. In Jefferson County, the motion was simply a motion to approve moving ahead with the regional approach of the broadband technical assistance grant led by COIC. I think with that motion, COIC can feel good about moving forward on our behalf. The letter of support will be used more, not for COIC, just instead it'll be used as part of the grant application itself. So it'll be submitted with the grant application material with the Oregon Broadband Office. Shelby from COIC maybe on the on Zoom. Shelby, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, I don't. Thanks, Will. But happy to answer any questions that the court may have.
No, I think I'm good.
I don't have any questions.
No, I don't either.
You want me to restate that motion?
If you would.
I think the court can make a motion to approve moving ahead with the regional approach on the broadband technical assistance grant led by COIC.
So moved.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks all.
Eric?
Commissioners, what's in front of you is the latest iteration of an order that the county court tries to approve every January. From time to time, the county is required to publish notices in either what might be called a newspaper of general circulation or a newspaper of record. Sometimes the statutes will require one term, sometimes the statutes will require another. As an example, the county's annual foreclosure list for real property taxes needs to be published in the county newspaper of general circulation. What you have in front of you is an order that would designate both the Central Oregonian and the Bend Bulletin as newspapers of general circulation and newspapers of record. They would serve in this role individually, not collectively, so publication in either of them or both of them would be legally sufficient. This is again a new iteration of an order that the county has approved in previous years. And assuming it is approved, then we will take it up to the clerk's office to be recorded.
Sounds good to me.
I make a motion to approve order 2024-01 designation of newspaper of record, which would include the Bend Bulletin and the Central Oregonian.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Towing?
Commissioners, what's in front of you is a letter of engagement of the law firm Harangue Long to work on a particular discrete project. As you know, our office, Alex and John and I have a number of different obligations on our time. And one of the things that I personally am not all about is asking for help. One of the projects we will be needing to work on going forward is an update to the county's non-preference rotation services contract. Under this engagement letter, the county would engage the law firm Harangue Long to work on that project as outside counsel. And assuming it is approved, then I will alert the law firm and then provide entree between the attorney, Mr. Julian Mars, and the sheriff's office so they can get working on this project. The idea of the non-preference rotation system is that from time to time, the county will need to have some vehicle towed. Typically, this is contacted through the county sheriff's office. The county will maintain a system whereby qualified towing companies will be on a rotation so that the next available rotating company will receive the call, and then from there, they would receive the payment or would be able to lien the vehicle. By having a rotating system, the county and public agencies like the Oregon State Police that have similar systems are able to spread this business out to a variety of different qualified tow companies, so one company doesn't get all of the business. However, the system's also meant to retain a great deal of flexibility for the public agency. So for instance, if we need to move a cement mixer and we know that companies A and B do not have the equipment to move a cement mixer, but company C does, the county would have the flexibility of going to company C and say, please tow this vehicle, even if it is not next in the rotation. You have in your agenda packet a description of a proposed timeline for updating the county's current contract, and that would require issuing a request for proposal. The county has an existing contract with a single firm. When we first originally executed that contract, we had 5. Over the many years, it has been extended, but the number of companies has dwindled to 1. And we have recently received information that there may be another firm that was interested in participating. My idea was maybe it's time to update that request for proposal because it is the existing contract is getting a little long in the tooth. That will allow interested firms to competitively submit proposals, and if they qualify, be entered into the rotating system.
Yeah, no, good.
So at $280 an hour, how much are you, what is your idea? How long it's gonna take to come up with this?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
And I mean, and I'm generalizing, I'm not gonna hold you to the censor.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of the work will depend on if there have been changes to the minimum rules on non-preference rotating systems. I don't know if there have been. If there haven't been any changes since the county's last contract in 2015, I'm thinking that the amount of work required for this particular project would be comparatively little. It would be, it would require updating the contract form with some minor modifications. It would require updating the RFP form with some minor modifications. And then the bulk of the work would be reviewing the submitted proposals to make sure that they are required, that meet the requirements of both the law and the RFP's terms. So if there are not changes to the administrative rules, I think that will take a comparatively small amount of time. But I don't know if there have been changes to those administrative rules. And if they have changed since the county's last contract, this may take a great deal of time. One of the reasons we wanted to suggest this particular project to farm out is because we have about 6 months before the current contract will expire, and we want to give the firm a discrete project with plenty of time in order to wrap it up, even if there is a great deal of work that needs to be.
So the request for proposal RFP, does it go out to the independent contractors? Who does it go out to? Because if there is only one out there and then there is another 1 or 2 that come on at a later date, what's the procedure for them to get in on that?
Yes, that's part of the reason why I thought it would be wise to issue a new RFP and let people compete rather than just extending our current contract for one vendor and letting someone else who did not participate in the RFP to sign a contract to join in that rotation. So the idea is if there are more than one firm that are interested in participating in this project, the county will issue periodic RFPs, allowing them to submit proposals and see if they qualify. If it turns out that we only get 1 response, then the county might decide that it's not going to issue an RFP at the next expiration of the current agreement and simply extend the current agreement, which is what the county has done for the last several years. But now we have heard that there might be a new firm who's interested, and in that case, probably a new RFP is appropriate.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, down the road, if someone else comes on, do we have to do another RFP, or is there some way to have the apply, some system that they apply to get into it? Or we are going to continue to have to do RFPs if people decide they want to get in it, and it's
Yeah.
going to be an ongoing expense.
I don't know if there is a way for the county to have both, to extend the current agreements and allow someone to join in under a long expired RFP. So I think probably the safest way under the Oregon's public contracting laws is either extend the current agreements with the current group of vendors, or if you think that there are interested firms who might want to join and you want to give them the opportunity, issue an RFP then.
Could you come up, and maybe this is what Brian's saying, could the new system be a system that we don't need to do a new RFP every time? And that it has the opportunity for new companies that come to town to join into that system?
That's just what I was saying. I don't know if there's a way to do that under Oregon's public contracting law. Because the concern I would have is that the request for proposal from the original firm will have long since expired. And if you continue the contracts that were originally let under that system, I think that is contemplated by Oregon law. But if you have an expired RFP, people operating under the contracts let under that RFP, and then have some way for people to join in under an expired RFP, I foresee that would create the significant possibility of bid protests.
Couldn't you just have them reapply every year, and then that would be the time for the other companies to apply if they were interested?
Well, that would be an RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the safest course of action is either, if you think there might be firms who are interested and the county wants to continue, county wants to grant these opportunities to participate, to issue an RFP then, or to simply extend the existing agreements under the originally let RFP.
Okay, I'm good with that. I would just kind of maybe appreciate, since they're researching and do the whole thing again, that they look into the other opportunities that would be available.
Perfect.
Okay.
And they're the ones that know, not me, so.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
We'll let you make the motion.
Well, I would make a motion that we, let me read it here.
To retain.
That we retain Herring and Long PC on a matter of the towing at a rate of $280 per hour to draft the documents for an RFP.
Never mind. I second that.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you feel we should put, a cap? Do you think this will get, we'll come back and have a $50,000 bill? I'm just not trying to surprise ourselves here. If this becomes an extensive, lengthy thing, should we put a cap? I'm not sure.
Well,
What are you thinking?
I would.
Yes, so what would be an appropriate, you're saying you don't think there's gonna be a lot, but what if there is? It just seems that maybe we should maybe we should amend the motion and have a cap, but I'm not exactly sure what price or what you're thinking.
yeah. Yeah, the hard bit is, I don't know how much work this is going to require. And what is the risk that the county runs into the cap and then does not have a RFP ready? We will have spent a great deal of money and have nothing to show for it. The risk, of course, is if you don't have some sort of cap, are you going to be spending a whole lot more money than you anticipated? That may be more trouble than it's worth.
I'm just thinking if you reach that cap, that's a time to kind of reevaluate, see what their work is and reevaluate and discuss it again. I'm just thinking a cap is good business. That's my thought. I have no idea on you could do 28,000, there's your 100 hours, I guess, or something. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, one of the things we'd want to consider here is how much are we spending on towing in?
Yeah, is that even significant? Yeah, that's actually a very good question.
Right, yeah, and don't know the answer to that right now. I think, something we can look into. I think in talking with Harang Long, I think we can have the discussion with them in terms of, another benefit of using a firm like this is they represent a number of other entities that have the same issue. And so they may have something that is literally already ready to go and just needs, some minor tweaking to ultimately serve the needs of Crook County. And I think, that's a preliminary discussion that can lead to, is this going to be something that's going to cost more than $5,000 or
That's
$10,000? And, look back and see whether or not that, ultimately coincides with how much we're spending on towing. I mean, if we're spending less than $10,000 a year in towing,
Why are we? gonna
then, I hate to see us spend, that kind of money, for an RFP process.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is what I'm hearing Eric say is it opens it up to lawsuits that could be much higher than the cost that we're actually spending.
Well, the lawsuit I mentioned is in regards to the idea of having new firms join under an RFP. Those are the bid protests I
Yeah.
mentioned. The non-preference rotation system, I don't believe, at least the last time the county looked into it, is not required by law.
Okay.
So, I mean, it may serve a lot of good functions, including spreading business around to qualified firms. But unless the law has changed, we may decide that we don't want it.
We could just pick one person and they would do all our work.
What you would decide is on an individual basis,
Who the right person for the job was.
right? And go through an individual contracting project for each individual tow.
So we're kind of talking two things here. Are we talking the rotational process and what, there's an automobile accident and they call in for a non-preference tow and there's a list and they go down those lists. And most generally those are paid for by the parties that own the vehicles, not the sheriff's department.
Right.
And then there are the tows that are required that the sheriff decides that, so, for whatever reason, vehicle needs to be towed. So they're kind of separate things, but I'm kind of sounding like we're making a combination of them in this RFP.
Well, so the county's RFP would be for the first group, where the sheriff's office determines something needs to be towed, the towing company would come out to tow it, and then the person who owns the vehicle would pay the towing fee, or the vehicle would be liened by the towing company. If the county wanted to have something towed itself and pay for it itself, I don't know if we would need to use the rotating system.
Right.
It sounds to me like this may not be ready for consideration today, so I can gather more information and then bring it back at a later date.
I really think what Andy said is true, that how much do we spend per year on towing? What do they feel might be involved? And then we have a better basis of what kind of money we're talking.
Totally agree.
Because I just don't want to spend a lot of money on, it's not a frivolous thing, but it is, I mean, what I'm trying to say, there's more important. That's kind of my thought process. So I kind of agree with what Andy just said.
Okay.
And that's a little more research, I think, is just finding out where we're coming from.
So I guess from the way I understand it, then if the county individually wants to have someone towed, it's going to take an RFP in order to be able to do that.
No, not necessarily. Very unlikely would it require an RFP, because the threshold for an RFP is a project of $150,000 or more. It might, if the towing costs $10,000 or more, require an intermediate process. What that involves is the county would try to get 3 informal price quotes from qualified firms. If it can't obtain 3 price quotes, that doesn't necessarily scotch anything, as long as it tries in good faith to get 3 informal price quotes. I don't think that this would qualify as a sole source, so the county would still have to try, but that is not a particularly onerous process. And again, the threshold for requiring the 3 informal price quotes is a project of $10,000 or more. Under that, the county would be able to engage whichever vendor it wanted without any kind of competitive process. That's if the county was going to pay for something itself.
So I'm not really, I missed it here someplace, because I don't even see the real necessity for an RFP.
So the idea of the RFP is that the towing, in this case, would not be engaged and would not be paid for by the county. So in that case, I believe, at least under the law as it existed in the last time the county issued the RFP, which was 2015-ish, the county was required to issue an RFP for those type of non-preference rotation services. Again, maybe the law has changed, but that is different from when the county chooses to pay for the services itself.
Yeah, if I could, I believe, as I understand the policy right now, to internally from a procurement standpoint, Eric, as a department head, you've got the authority to go ahead and commit within your budget up to 10K for this work, right?
Yes.
And so maybe a next step here, is some additional, conversation between Eric and, the folks at Harangue, and see if in fact this is something that can get done within that 10K, and you can make that decision. If it needs to be, if they think it's going to be more than that, you can investigate that a little bit further and then come back and present this for an action for your consideration.
So I'm sorry, I misspoke. There is, I think, under the county's policy and under existing law, an exception when it comes to engaging outside counsel that might have to come to county court. I sort of had that in the back of my head, so I might need to refresh my memory on that. But yes, it sounds like we need to gather more information before the county court feels comfortable moving forward with the engagement letter.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see, kind of to Susie's question, what a general cost they believe. They should have a general idea. And then also I'd like to see what we're actually spending on these things, and what the equivalent is there, equivalency is there.
I think we should be able to get some information for you that, speaks to the activity, both on the external side, how many calls are being put out for towing for private vehicles at private property owner expense versus what the county's spending. And
Because 10,000 seems like a very high tow bill to me. I don't think I've ever been towed, but it seems like if you can go to 10,000, that seems a lot to me, but maybe I'm.
I don't think it's dealing with the cost of the towing. I think
No,
it's dealing with the rotation of the
Yes.
of the
agree
companies
there.
in town and making sure that everybody gets their fair share is what I think that's the question.
Yes,
we're talking
But
about
I
today.
you're talking that if it's 10,000 or more, then that's your RFP. So like,
So that would be
that's your threshold there.
the
And
intermediate
then you go
process,
into,
right?
yes. But I mean, 10,000 right now, it seems like that should be a workable amount, but I don't think we should give an open-ended. I think that's not prudent.
I think also we had some towing companies that were not showing up and were not doing it, but then would complain that they weren't part of the process. And I think that's part of the reason we have this process, is that it weeded out some of the people that weren't taking care of the sheriff's department. And then at the same time, they would come and complain and say that they never got enough work. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, that's kind of why we have this process, to vet them before they come in.
And part of the reason is also to make sure that the people that they are employing aren't basically not Muppets, that they have clean drug tests, that they have existing CDLs. This RFP process will allow the county to get verification from the towing
all of
companies
that.
of their qualifications of the drivers. So we'll gather more information and then see about bringing this back.
Great. All right, Andy, you got anything?
I just have a few things. I had mentioned at your last work session, we'd be bringing something related to the courthouse to you on the 10th. We're going to go ahead and push that back to the 24th. There's some other items that have come up that we want to make sure we get to the 31st. Yep, thank you, sir. We're going to go ahead. Next meeting, we have Vance Jacobson with Jacobson Betts that'll be here, giving an update on the compensation plan. Want to make sure there's adequate time for him on that. We'll have a budget calendar that we want to, talk about and that process, for the budget, spend some time on that. And also want to just speak to you a little bit about the work session format that we've been using, since April, and see if there's an opportunity at this point to make some changes. It gets, a bit more time to spend on bigger issues, be a little bit more proactive with those than what we've been able to at this point. Okay.
Great.
That's all I have.
Yeah. We had a great meeting in Plina. What was that, Mike? Last Wednesday. Had a lot of producers there, had ODF&W. Had some really good conversations about wolves. We have a meeting tomorrow for the wolf committee to talk about kind of next steps. What I'm hearing from a lot of people is that they want to see some additional additional help with the wolves in addition to what we're doing for wildlife services currently. I think that makes sense. I think what we can do for the ranchers. Ellie Gage, the person in charge of our wolf committee, she's got a lot of opportunities for different grants. I reached out to Jefferson and Grant County, and they're interested in partnering. That would even decrease the cost of something new. I don't think it's really incumbent on us to figure out what that is. I think I want to hear from the producers and what they want, and what kind of help they think would best fit their situation, and then we can kind of try and find ways to support them. So that's just something that I think we need to work towards. I don't know. Just wanted to kind of get everybody's thoughts on that.
So are they looking for more legislative type of?
No, I think it's more like boom pow removal and non-lethal stuff, and just having somebody out there that they can call. They can come and ride their orders and different things to put them in a position where they've got somebody to call and start getting some of that work done. It was what I heard. I think we'll hear more tomorrow at the wolf meeting.
There is supposed to be some federal funding coming. And at the time when I talked to ODF&W, they weren't sure what the mechanism was that had to hold the money. So that might come to us.
Mm-hmm.
There was a deprivation today, so it's heating up.
Yeah.
And like basically we're under the feds, and they tried to delist last year, and there was an environmental suit. And so they're going to in February bring this back up. But again, the environmentalists slap a suit on it. We're back to, this arbitrary line of $395. And what's really bad about it is OR 131's traveling with a friend. They don't know male or female. They're assuming female just because of the pack thing. And 141, they both have kill orders on the other side of 395, but they don't transfer over. And until they go back. So it's kind of a sad, you would think they would at least transfer the order, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be more on the geographical area, but
On the amount of deprivations, yes.
The
So,
animal
yeah.
itself.
And the other thing I don't think ODF&W has a handle on is how many wolves there are. Because Aaron, the wolf biologist, he's only talking about OR 131 and 141. And we have ranchers who have pictures of 4 or more wolves together. So the and I'm not saying, look at the Ochicos. How are you going to find them all? But I feel we have way more of a population than is, I guess, recorded or officially or whatever you want to say. I think there's a lot more out there.
so the program in essence has been a success.
Actually, according
raise
to Cliff
wolves.
Vance, the way we are supposed to politically this is the Endangered Species Act has done what it was supposed to do. They brought the species back. There was a thing, I don't know if it was yesterday, I think it was yesterday, where the American eagle now is a success story. We brought the eagle back and whatever. And if that's what they're trying to achieve, we're there with the wolf. Now we need to manage. And I wasn't aware and read a stupid random article that in Russia and China that wolves eat children. And they really like children, basically. And so how long you're doing this harassing where you're harassing this wolf, and in my opinion, he's losing fear of you because you're not harming him.
Mhm.
You're just doing whatever, the lights and all of that. How long before we have that problem? And I don't know. I don't know enough about the animal, but let's face it, he's the ultimate killing machine, and ODF&W will tell you that.
Yeah.
He's the top of the pack and he's smart.
Yeah.
So how long before we have that problem? I mean, when you live on a ranch, your kids go to the river, and I mean, that's kind of part of a ranch.
Yep,
Yeah.
no, it's frightening.
So it's a very serious situation, really. And now, I mean, he can just go ranch to ranch out there. It's going to be pretty easy.
It's just the sheer radius of where they can be. It's just,
Yeah.
they can run and run and run. Go all over.
I have a
So-
few ideas, but none I want to say publicly.
So I just think, I think we need to be on top of it and be responsive, and I'm hearing a lot heard people at that meeting, I've heard people outside of that meeting, and so I just want to hear what their thoughts are, and it sounds like they're gonna come with a proposal towards the end of the month. But they also don't know exactly what they're looking for. I talked to Ellie, and she wanted to come next meeting. But the more we talked, she said, we need to sit down with the producers and see what they want to see out of this program. And so I think,
It'll be interesting to see how many people participate tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because the little Pall Mall Club was full. All the chairs were filled. And there was quite a few people I don't recognize, and I think they were from maybe John Day area all over in there. But no, it was a very nice meeting. It was run very well. And they all did their little talk, and the federal government was there. But again, it's an ongoing problem, and you have so many jurisdictions involved. Seems like nobody can just step up and come up with a solution.
It's a lot of talk,
lot of
Exactly.
very little action.
yes,
Exactly.
very much so.
Exactly. And when it's, and if calves are still $1,800 a pop, I don't know what the market is. I haven't looked at it. I mean, it's a lot of money. And it isn't just, one of the producers came up and it was a good thought. He said that they have wolves. 62% of his cows were open. And then his calves, he guesstimated his calves came in at a weaning weight of 60 pounds less. So how do you compensate for that?
Hmm.
How do you
Very
compensate for that open cow? That you're planning on 10 years of productivity for, or that heifer that sloughs and you get rid of her. So there's a lot besides the killing of the animal that's affected. And when you do have wolves, and I know this, when you show up and you have dogs, I mean, those cows go crazy.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what's going on, and it has a serious impact besides the kill. There's a lot of secondary results there. So, and I don't know how they'll address it because that is a big factor.
But I think that's something that this person could be doing as well, as collecting data and showing some of the ancillary issues that come along with these wolves, and put some data out there like we've done with the Crooked River on the water purity and different things. So
Sure, no, it's.
A lot of
you need to
talk
consider-
right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I talked with Ellie, we got together, and I know there's need,
And she seems very enthusiastic, very competent. And so, yeah.
absolutely.
on another part of that, I'm part of that Western Resource Legal Center. And they in the past have helped people all over the state kind of respond to when they have like in February, they're releasing a new explanation of where the line is and where it should be, and it may be moved, and then there may be
not be made to be just
maybe kept
delisted.
the same, maybe totally delisted. But I'm prepping them later today to be able to help kind of all the ranchers around here kind of give comments to that. So I think that'll be a good.
Cliff Benz is trying to get something passed where we get it delisted, but also that a lawsuit can't be filed, which I don't know how you can do that.
That seems like a tall
I
order.
just seems pretty tall, but hey, he can do it. I'm for it. But
Yeah.
yeah. That was his last communication, but I just don't think that's a problem. Anyway.
Great. Anything else before the executive session?
No.
Okay,
Do you, do you
Nope.
want me now or
Oh,
later?
yeah, there.
Yes, there is something that I want to bring up and while the public is here. So we had a series, or you guys, I didn't, had a series of 3 public meetings where we discussed the need for a county administrator, what we were doing with the Board of Commissions and whatever. Yesterday, I talked with Andy and I'm assuming at one time he'd like to go plant lavender and maybe drink a little wine with his wife. So I'm bringing this up. Or where are we going to go? Are we going to go on a ballot? Are we going to do a series of education, which is education PowerPoint presentations for the public? We need to think about this because if he leaves in December 31st, 2024, we need to have somebody that's been here. And he's been here for a while and he's worked with Andy and he knows if that's the way we're going. But how do we handle the people and what are your thoughts? And I'm just bringing it out here because I think we need to do it sooner rather than later. And we need to come up with a plan. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
No, and I agree.
Yep.
The direction that we were working for and
We have to just figure out what our plan is and go forward and inform the public. And like I say, I don't know. You were there at the 3 meetings. I only went to the 1. Is this something that we have an opportunity? We could put it on a ballot in May and it would cost us the ink it's being printed. It wouldn't cost us extra. Or do we not? I'm not sure where we go, but I need to get us all together to figure this out. And I'm throwing it out to the public and whatever. Because we need to, like I say, we need to do sooner rather than later.
right, it gives a series of meetings aren't gonna work when it all turns political.
No.
People have to be aware of what's going on and have an understanding if they're gonna be part of that process of voting on it. Because it's that, I personally like the ideas of votes, but I think that when you do, you have to be knowledgeable with what you're voting on.
You
And
have to make it very factual and you have to have, you have to have it very, very factual and it can't be political. This is a business. And how do we run this business the best and most efficient?
absolutely,
And all the other little politics has got to be pushed aside. I don't know that we can do that, but we need to talk about it and figure it out.
agree.
yeah, totally agree.
Okay,
Yeah, with that, would a work session, dialogue next week work? We can bring back.
so I think, like I say,
Yeah,
I think so.
bring back
If
some
that's okay with,
information.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just bringing it up because I think it needs to be brought up and needs to be discussed. So
Okay.
that would be perfect.
Yeah, we'll make that on the agenda then.
Thank you very much.
You got something, Mike?
Just, it's not huge to me, but as I recall, there's still a motion on the floor regarding the voting issue.
Well, I think what we decided is we want more information, so I don't think. Oh, fair.
That is very fair because, and then we started in discussion and went to the others. So are you want to rescind your motion?
I will rescind my motion.
And I second the rescinding, I guess that's the way to say it. I don't know, but
Do we need to vote on the rescinding?
No.
Seems a little.
Yeah. Okay. Good catch, though. You're right. Robert's Rules of Orders would have come down with the big squash on us.
So since you're here, Mike, you had made a request at one of our previous meetings. And we answered those requests with letters, and I'm wondering if you are satisfied with the response.
I got the responses and it confirmed some things that I thought. Thank you for your response.
Yeah.
Good. All right. On to executive session.
We need a motion to adjourn the public portion.
I don't think you do.
Okay.
Did we-
That's my planning training. See, Will knows that. He's already left.